Hello, everyone. We'll get started here in about a minute or two. All right, so I think I'll go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining me today for this labor and employment session. Essentially what we're going to do is go over the different ways to find your content. We'll make sure that this is the most efficient way as well. So once you sign online to Lexis Plus, if we stay within the legal research module, the first way, and I'm sure the most common way to find your labor and employment content is to start with the main search box up here at the top. Next, what you could do is, you could just plug in a search query, and then you can narrow it down by content and or jurisdiction. The second way would be to come down here to the Explore Content box. What's great about the Explore Content box is it breaks it up by content, federal, state, practice area, etc. And we'll focus on the practice area tab. So for labor and employment, we do have a labor and employment page. We also have an employee benefits and executive compensation page. The way that these pages work is essentially it has all your content listed below. And the two ways of searching is to either plug in a search query in this box. It can also be a citation or the name of a source. It's already tailored toward labor and employment law. So any search you run in here is already tailored. Or you can come down here and it's got all your content types broken up with all the sources underneath each header. So for example, if you were looking for like secondary materials, you could see what's all available to you in this section right here. If you wanted to locate arbitration awards or anything like that, those would be listed in here too. And so really quickly, what you can do, so let's say if you wanted to just search one particular source under arbitration materials, you could just click on the source. And then it takes you straight into every document that falls under that source. And then you would just use your filtering options to narrow down this number. You can also make that your research start page. If I go back a step, you can do that by clicking on this house icon right here. And then when you sign online to Lexis Plus, it'll just bring you here versus the main homepage. We also have what's called practice centers. And the way that you access that is to click on practice area, scroll all the way down to the bottom where you see a link for view our practice centers. The practice centers are broken down by jurisdiction and practice area. If we focus on practice area, there is an employee benefits and executive compensation practice area. And then of course, there's labor and employment. And so if you click on either of these, it'll bring you to essentially a practice center is really just a home page. Once again, it's going to house all your content. And so you can make this your home start page. And then once again, just like on the filtered page we just looked at for labor and employment, you can still search in the same type of manner on the practice centers. Now, in terms of practical guidance material for labor and employment, we want to switch over to the practical guidance module. And so similar to if we had started in legal research, you can initially start your searching by typing in some search query in the search box. You can then narrow it down by practice area here, including jurisdiction. Any search you put in here, though, it's only going to search through practice notes, templates, clauses, articles, and checklists. So if you're not really looking for traditional law, but you're just looking for pointers from practitioners such as yourselves or sample forms, things like that, just keep in mind that that's the type of content that you're going to be pulling. The second way of searching is to come down to the practice areas box. So you'll see, once again, we have employee benefits and executive compensation. We also have labor and employment. And so if you click on either of those practice areas, once again, you can put in search terms here, and it'll already have it tailored toward that practice area. Or you can come down to topics and tasks. And so let's say if you wanted to pull up everything on screening and hiring as an example, you can get a glimpse of the practice notes here, the sample forms under templates, clauses. So like if you already have a form, but you're just looking for a quick clause, you can go here to pull something out. And then you also have checklists, which are very similar to practice notes. With any of these, if you hit view all, you can then narrow it down to your applicable jurisdiction. So for example, if I were to narrow this down to Ohio, these are going to be the screening and hiring practice notes that's already tailored for Ohio. And so I can see there's also a resource kit. What's great about resource kits is they have pretty much all your content rolled into one page for you. And so if I click on the screening and hiring resource kit, I can see that there's 170 practice notes tied to this, a little less than 130 forms, clauses, and checklists. And these are, basically step-by-step on the screening and hiring process for Ohio. Once again, these resource kits are written by practitioners such as yourselves. These are great for newer attorneys where you're trying to get up to speed on a practice area, as well as people that have been practicing for a while if you're just looking for a refresher. And we have resource kits for all of the practice areas. I'll just show you how you can access those. So if I go back to the practical guidance main homepage, there's a box here called tools and resources. And this is where you can access all of our resource kits. And then you can just use the filters to narrow down like by jurisdiction or topic and task, as well as practice area. And then last but not least, we have the state law comparison tool. What's great about this is you can find primary law based on a topic or task for a practice area within a few seconds. You can also get primary law for multiple jurisdictions, not just one. So to kind of walk us through an example, if I click on the practice area box, next I'll click on labor and employment, and just want to point out that employee benefits and executive compensation is in here as well. Next, you just select a topic. So let's say if we do discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Here's all the jurisdictions that you can click on to get the primary law pretty quickly. So let's say if I did the Midwest, so I could do Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, could even include Kentucky in there. Hit continue. And then these are a list of all the questions as it pertains to discrimination, harassment, and retaliation that can be answered. So I could either manually select which questions I want, or if I like all of these questions, I can just select all. And then I just hit download report, which they can be downloaded in PDF, Word, or Excel spreadsheet. And then it just takes a couple of seconds for it to download. And so here's what the report will look like. It'll first bring you to your table of contents where you have your questions and your applicable jurisdictions. If I scroll past the table of contents, We're then brought to the very first question up here at the top, the very first jurisdiction, and then our answers. What's nice about this too is it gives you the hyperlinks out to the primary law. So if you want to see it in full context, you can do that pretty quickly. And so the state law comparison tool, it's great if you're not doing a whole lot of research, but when it comes up, you can get those answers really quick. Or if you do a lot of research, you can still save a lot of time by using this tool. And so that is once again found in the tools and resource kit box. And you just want to make sure you're within the practical guidance module. And so just as a really quick recap, if you're looking to set up a labor and employment page, come down here to explore content, make sure you're within the practice area tab, and you can either select a filter page within here, or you can go to practice centers and you can set these up as home pages. And then last but not least, you've got your practical guidance module. If you're looking for, like practice notes, forms, checklists, as well as state law comparison tool and resource kits. So I will hang on the line if anyone has any questions. If not, I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.